Hi, and welcome to the next section on the Activity
Donc
Lifecycle.
une série qui est sortie pendant l'été sur Amazon. Hein. C'est ça.
Ouais, parce qu'en fait, ils ont eu une déconvenue initialement, c'était censé être chez Warner, donc ça aurait été plus sur Max.
Ouais.
Sauf que ils se sont désistés, je crois. Il y a eu un truc comme ça, et donc c'est Prime qui a récupéré l'affaire. C'est peut-être ça aussi qui explique qu'il y a eu quand même une quasi-absence de promo en fait autour du truc.
Ouais.
Parce que c'était pas une série native de chez Amazon. Je crois que c'est ça
D'accord.
qui explique un peu.
Donc là on a eu une saison avec 10 épisodes.
C'est ça.
Et c'est une série qui se veut un peu comme la descendante spirituelle du Batman des années 90, c'est quoi, 92?
Ouais, c'est la série animée qui est vraiment devenue culte, classique, tout ce qu'on veut, de Paul Dini et Bruce Timm. Donc ouais, ils ont démarré leur diffusion en 92, et c'est vraiment le truc qui est resté comme le maître étalon, l'alpha et l'oméga de l'animation de super-héros, parce que c'était... en termes d'anime, ils bossaient avec des japonais, donc c'était vraiment soigné de fou. Et surtout en termes d'écriture... En fait, pour vous donner une idée, c'est eux qui ont créé toute pièce certains personnages qui ensuite sont devenus tellement populaires qu'ils ont intégré le canon en fait de Batman dans les comics. Donc l'exemple le plus parlant, c'est Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn n'existait pas avant cette série. Et puis ils ont retravaillé pas mal de personnages. C'est un petit peu eux aussi qui ont par exemple métamorphosé Mr. Freeze, qui initialement était juste un connard qui faisait des vols avec un pistolet réfrigérant, et là ils lui ont mis une backstory de tragédie.
Hyper tragique,
c'est vraiment sa femme qui est cryogénisée parce qu'elle a une maladie incurable, et donc lui n'est pas méchant de base, mais doit trouver des moyens de la soigner. Donc on est vraiment sur un héros tragique limite.
Et t'en as beaucoup comme ça dans la série.
Et
hein.
C'est ça le truc.
Clayface, c'est pareil.
Ouais, Clayface, c'est acteur destin tragique, défiguré, et du coup, il y a accident chimique qui se transforme en gros monstre. Il a une scène de fausse mort qui est incroyable, où il rejoue tous ses rôles en accéléré et tout. Il fait semblant de mourir devant Batman, disant j'aurais... À une autre époque, j'aurais tué pour avoir une scène de mort comme ça et tout. Ouais. Et tu fais waouh, c'est dur et tout. T'as le personnage de Baby Doll, qui est ultra triste, la scène de fin avec les miroirs déformants. En gros, pour ceux qui voient pas, c'est aussi une actrice, sauf qu'elle a une malformation qui...
Une maladie génétique, je crois.
C'est sa maladie génétique qui fait qu'elle a l'apparence d'une petite fille, même si c'est une adulte, en fait, c'est une daronne. Et donc, à la scène de fin, elle est dans un truc de miroir déformant, et il y a un des miroirs qui lui renvoie une image d'elle où elle serait sous une forme adulte normale. Et après, Batman arrive, elle pleure, elle tire sur les miroirs, et puis elle dit j'ai pas fait exprès. Et tout. Enfin, c'est horrible. Tout est absolument horrible dans le truc.
C'est moi dans le miroir, celle que je suis vraiment. Je suis là. Mais ce n'est pas tout à fait réel, n'est-ce pas? C'est du domaine de la fiction, comme ma famille, comme ma vie et comme tout le reste. Pourquoi tu ne m'as pas laissé croire que tout ça était vrai?
Et oui, en fait, tu sens que leur influence, c'est plus le deuxième Batman de Tim Burton, dans le sens où Tim Burton, ce qu'il avait fait, c'est qu'il avait pris Catwoman et le Pingouin, mais ils les avaient complètement transformés. Pareil, le Pingouin, du coup, ça devient un mec qui s'est fait...
Depending on what version of Android Studio you have, the new project panes may look slightly different. There's been quite a few updates recently. So I have empty activity selected, I'll click next. Now we're not going to make anything in particular in this section. It's more of a playground exploring the life cycle and some of the things we can do. So because of that, I'm just going to call this app the Activity Lifecycle Playground, like that, okay? Leave the package name, save location where you want, and then click finish. And that, okay? Leave the package of the things. We have empty activity selected, I'll click next. Now we're not going to make anything in particular in this section. It's more of a playground exploring the life cycle and some of the things we can do. So because of that, I'm just going to call this app the Activity Lifecycle Playground, like that, okay? Leave the package name, save location where you want, and then click finish. And when that finishes setting up, I'm going to do the usual things of changing the project pane to the project view rather than Android, and just selecting the target reticule so I can get to main activity. That's good. I'm going to move the project pane over a little bit. In fact, I'm going to close it. close the layout file, so we just have main activity showing in the middle of the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and put the one method on create in a little bit of space, and that's a good place to be. So straight away, whenever we make a new project, we are usually given the onCreate method, and this is actually already one of our 6 lifecycle methods. So before going any further in Android Studio, let's now find out what Android defines the activity lifecycle as. As always, I find the best place to definition of these things is in the Android documentation themselves. Go to my browser and just do a search for Android Activity Lifecycle and enter. And right at the top on my search results, I have developer.android.com/components/activities, and I have this wonderful page called the Activity Lifecycle. So we'll go ahead and click that. And inside here, we have a fantastic document giving you lots and lots of information about the lifecycle, the method, the activity instances in your app, chunk methods when I was a junior, your activity on your screen being aligned. More than that, it's not a complex thing. It just sounds a bit technical, but it's really not. So we continue. The activity class provides a number of callbacks, and we will do a little workshop later on exploring what the word callback means, okay? But for now, the activity class provides a number of callbacks that allow the activity to know that a state has changed, that the system is creating, stopping, or resuming an activity, or destroying the process in which the activity resides. So at this point, it's good enough to know that these callbacks are just blocks of code, methods, functions that will run. They will be called. They'll be called back to at certain points when the user is playing with our applications, with our activities. So this is fantastic. We can know when the activity is in the process of being created, and we can do things during its creation, like, for example, set the content view, as we've seen many times before. But we can also hook into when the user is leaving our screens or leaving the application. We can do some cleanup, save some data, and all number of things, okay? So this is the activity lifecycle, little chunks of code, blocks of code, methods that are called at certain key points, and we, the Android engineer, can know when these things are happening and do things, okay? Let's briefly jump back to Android Studio to see this in action. So we already have a method called onCreate, and this is one of our 6 lifecycle methods. When the activity goes from not existing to being created, before it's actually live and active on the screen, the onCreate method is called automatically. It's part of this app compat activity thing. The system will call this. So we can know when it's been created. We can do really important things like putting our layout on the screen. So this is one of the lifecycle methods. This is what we mean by activity lifecycle. So let's go back to the documentation now and see this a little bit clearer with a useful little diagram that Android have made for us. So if I scroll down a bit, there's lots of content there which you can read at your leisure. So if we scroll down to the heading that says Activity Lifecycle Concepts, we get this quite useful little diagram. It looks a bit complicated, we'll come to it in just a moment, but I do just want to read the first paragraph of this section. To navigate transitions between the stages of the activity lifecycle, the activity class provides a core set of 6 callbacks. On create, we've just seen that, on start, on resume, and then on pause, on stop, and on destroy. The system invokes each of these callbacks as an activity enters a new state. So that means, under the hood, the Android system is going to call these blocks of code automatically at the appropriate moment. It's going to call back to this code when needed, okay? I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on Chrome to make this diagram a bit larger. So if I just zoom in a bit like that, and get the diagram in the middle. So we see here a simplified illustration of the activity lifecycle. Now it looks quite complex at first glance, but if we can break it down to the simple concepts, there's the moment when an activity is launched, either main activity, when our app is launched for the first time, or indeed a different screen, like our edit running record activity or our edit cycling record activity. So when an activity is launched, first of all, the onCreate code will happen. That will be called. It will be called back to, okay? After that, there's a method called onStart, and we'll talk about when and why this happens. Then on resume, so 3 lifecycle methods, onCreate, onStart, onResume, and then finally, our activity will be running on the screen, ready for the user to interact with. And then there's the corresponding other 3 lifecycle methods for when the activity stops running. So we have onPause, onStop, and then onDestroy. And at this point, the activity is fully shut down, it no longer exists, it is not in the system anymore. So we're going to dig into these in this section. Okay, let's start playing with a couple of these. Now, for the activity lifecycle methods, it's going to be really helpful to look at these in pairs, but particularly in opposing pairs. So for the first 2 of our 6 methods, we're going to look at onCreate and onDestroy. They are, in a way, if you like, opposites, okay? And we're going to see why. And if you just quickly look to the left before onCreate, we can see there's a bit of text confirming when it occurs, when the user navigates to the activity. Ignore the orange box saying app process killed, because we'll imagine we're opening our app for the first time, but it also applies if the app has been previously closed or killed, as it's rather morbidly described. So in any case, when the user navigates to the activity and it doesn't already exist, then onCreate will be called, and we already know this. And also on Destroy, we have some text saying the activity is finishing or being destroyed by the system. So let's see this in practice. So back into Android Studio. So I'm in main activity, and we already have onCreate. So how can we go about proving when and where these bits of code run? Well, we could do something visual like a toast. We could do a toast message that says, I'm in onCreate. That's a fairly junior way of debugging though. That's what I used to do when I first got started. But there's a more sophisticated way, well, a couple of ways really. And one of them is to actually just log to our logcat at the bottom there. So you can do with a capital L, log, L-O-G, dot, and then you get some options. And if you go down, we have D, E, so D is for debug. So log.d is a quite useful one to use. So I do log.d, and it takes 2 arguments, a tag to make it easy to see, and then a log message. So for my tag, I'm going to do my name all as one word. Filtering by tags doesn't seem to work when there's a space in it, so I'll do Vin Norman in uppercase like that with no space. And then the message, I'll just say, I'm in onCreate, exclamation mark. So if you go ahead and run this now, and open the emulator, we have our empty Hello World app. There's not actually anything to see on the screen, because if you remember, we're doing a log to our logcat console at the bottom. So clicking back into Android Studio, if you open logcat, you can see all of this emulator's logs for our activity. And there's quite a few here, so you could try and go through them all and find your log manually. But we did a tag, if you remember, here. So we can filter by this tag by clicking into the search box at the top. This search box is also next to our log message type filter, where you can change it to error or info or debug as ours was. Okay, I'll leave on verbose and just simply type our tag. So in my case, it was Vin Norman, all one word. And there I can see my log message, I'm in onCreate. So generally speaking, if you're debugging your code and trying to find out where you are or which bits of code were actually called, a log message is a pretty good way to go. Don't try and do things like displaying some UI or showing some text on the screen or a toast. That's quite a slow and cumbersome way to do it. Of course, another way we could do it, if I just remove the log message for now, actually I'll comment it out, Control/Command/. Another way you can confirm where you are is put a debug point somewhere within the method. So I'll put a debug point on the set content view line, and this time I will click the bug icon to debug the app. So that's running it and attaching the debugger so we can pause at various moments and see where we are in our code. So now if I close the logcat and I debug run the app, and open the emulator, it takes a moment for the debugger to attach, and then I can see back at Android Studio, I've hit this method. So that's two good ways to find out where you are in the code, either using the logger or using the debugger. Okay, so I can confirm, yes, we're in on create. I don't see anything on my screen yet. And when I click this button to continue through the code, to resume it, and then I go back to the emulator, then I do see the content because the set content view method happens. Okay, so two good ways to confirm where we are in the code. I'm going to stick with using the logcat for now, the logger. So I will close the debug pane and I will uncomment this line and we're back to there. So Vin Norman, I'm in onCreate. So the two opposing methods are onCreate and onDestroy. OnCreate will happen when your app is created for the first time, or if it's been previously destroyed or killed off, okay? Meaning it does not exist at all in the system. We'll dig a little bit more into exactly what I mean by this when we do the onResume and onStart methods later on. But onCreate is for when the activity is created from scratch. It doesn't already exist. And the opposing method is onDestroy. So make some line breaks after onCreate and start typing with a lowercase o on and then capital D for destroy. And you can see we have the onDestroy method we can override there as it exists in app_compat activity. So go ahead and autocomplete to override this. And then we have, like onCreate, the onDestroy method with super.onDestroy. Like onCreate, there's a super.onDestroy method because there's some code that runs under the hood within app_compat activity. Okay. And before or after the super method, we can do it either before or after, it doesn't really matter. We can do another log. So let's do log.d, our tag, so Vin Norman in my case again. And I'll do I'm now in onDestroy method, exclamation mark. And again, I'm going to go ahead and run this. So run app. Don't really need to show the emulator each time, but there you go. You can see the app has run. If I open up logcat, I still have my filter by Vin Norman. I could remove that, but I'll leave it on there. So Vin Norman, I currently have two onCreate logs. The one from when I first opened it about 3-4 minutes ago, and the one for now. But you'll notice we don't see I'm in onDestroy, and that's because we haven't finished or destroyed the activity yet. Okay, so there's a few ways you can destroy the activity to fully close it. One of those ways is using the phone's back button to back out of this activity. If you're in an activity and you press the back button and there's no other code to capture or intercept the on back button, then pressing back within an activity has the effect of finishing it, of destroying it. So let's go ahead and do this now and see what happens. Keep your eyes peeled for this logcat in the background. I'll move this actually to the left so we can see here. So I'll press the back button once. I'm now in onDestroy, complete with a typo next to the M. Let's fix that, otherwise that will annoy me. Okay, so pressing the back button will finish your activity. It will destroy it, and the onDestroy method will happen. Rather than running the app again, I can see I'm in the app drawer. I will go ahead and just launch the app from the phone's or the emulator's app drawer, so Activity Lifecycle Playground. And then I can see I'm in onCreate happens again, and I can press back again, and I'm now in onDestroy. My change hasn't taken effect because I haven't restarted my app. Let's just do this now, quickly. Okay, I'm in onCreate one more time, and this time I back out. I'm now in onDestroy with an apostrophe. Fantastic. So pressing back in activity is one way to finish it. Another way, if I just open it again. Now you might think if I press the home button to go to the home screen that would finish it, but actually, let's see what happens. Nothing happens. The app is in the background. It has not been destroyed. Indeed, if I go back into it and open it again, onCreate also does not happen. Okay, the app exists, it is in the background, it is in the phone's memory. So pressing the home button will not finish your app. And if you have an Android phone and you use it quite often and you press the home button or you switch between apps, you might have recognized this effect where you will be in an app, press the home button, go open another app, and then when you go back to the previous app, either through the app drawer or the task switcher button, which we'll press in a moment, the app is exactly where you left it. You're not back at the beginning again. Okay, so the home button does not destroy or finish the app. And indeed, if it is in the background and you open it again from either the drawer or the task switcher like this, none of those ways of opening the app again causes onCreate to happen because your app exists in the background. Okay? So we've confirmed that pressing the back button will destroy it. Well, one other way to completely destroy and clear your app and your activity out of memory is in a task switcher button to actually clear it out, to clear it from memory. So if I go ahead now and swipe this up away from memory, I'm now in onDestroy happens at the bottom. You can see there. And then I'll go back to the home screen and open my app once more. And then we can see again, I'm in onCreate. Task switcher button, close, and then we see I'm in onDestroy. So that is two ways to fully finish and destroy or kill your activity in your app. Press the back button to back out of the activity or swipe it out of memory. There is one other way, and that's by calling a simple line of code called finish, like this. And to show you this in practice, you can try this now if you're coding along. So delete the code from onCreate, otherwise it will finish as soon as it starts. Go into activity_main. I'll just close the logcat for now and the project pane. Delete any default or template text views you may have from this empty activity and replace it with a button. And we'll do wrap content, and we'll do some text that says exit app, or activity to be more precise. And we'll constrain it to all four sides of the screen, those opposing constraints we've learned about before. So top to the top of parent, bottom to the bottom of parent, start to the start of parent, and end to the end of parent. Okay, and that centers it nicely on our screen. And we need to interact with this, so we will do a ID. So ID, we'll do button exit, like that. Okay, now we can jump back to our main activity. Now we haven't used view binding here. Just to be quick and efficient, we'll do the old-fashioned find view by ID that we've not done for a very long time. So we'll do find view by ID. We have to specify it's of type button. And we can simply do, in the brackets, r.id.button exit, like that. I could assign this to a variable, I could call it button, but I'll be even more quick and dirty if you like, and I'll just do a dot after the find view by ID, and straight away do set on click listener. It's actually absolutely fine to do that. I don't need to use this button for anything else, so you can do the set on click listener immediately here. I will do a new line for these onClick list note braces, and I'll simply call the finish code. Okay? So we have onCreate, and we should see the log for I'm onCreate, but the app shouldn't be destroyed if we don't press back or we don't clear it out of memory. But when we click the exit button, this code should run. In fact, let's do one more log to say log.d. I'll do vin Norman and say in the button click. So yes, that's pretty much opposite ends of the life cycle, as it were, when it's first created and when